Hey, what is going on, guys? This video today is going to be a discussion about what is likely the most polarizing gameplay feature in all of Fortnite, turbo building. Turbo building doesn't get as much attention as things like sensitivity, aim assist, or button layout, but other than the addition of Builder Pro, nothing has had a greater impact on the way people build in Fortnite more than turbo building. And the feature somehow manages to be good for the game, bad for the game, overpowered, and glitchy, all at the same time. It's pretty crazy how turbo building has both directly and indirectly affected so many things in Fortnite, so without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so I want to start this video off by strongly recommending everybody watching this video to turn turbo building on if you haven't already. I'm guessing about 80 to 90% of you guys already play with it on, but for those of you guys that don't, you're putting yourself at a pretty massive disadvantage by not using it. We'll get into why that is in a little more detail later in this video, but trust me, you definitely want it on at all times. So, to understand the impact that turbo building has had on the building meta and just Fortnite in general, we need to take a look at the brief history of the feature. Turbo building was initially added into Fortnite at the end of February with a speed of about 6 clicks per second. This means that holding down the right trigger to turbo build would be the equivalent to clicking 6 individual times per second. Honestly, that may sound like a lot, but trust me, it really isn't. Most PC players would be able to hit a low double-digit clicks per second manually, and even with a controller, 6+ manual clicks per second is definitely achievable. This led to turbo building initially being a fairly underutilized feature. A lot of players decided not to use it because it was pretty much the same speed as what they could already manually do, so why learn something totally new that really didn't even help at the end of the day? This feedback led Epic to revisiting the speed of turbo building in the beginning of June with patch 4.3. They didn't just give it a slight buff from 6 clicks per second to maybe 10, 12, or even 15. In one single update, they changed the speed of turbo building from just about 6 clicks per second to 20 clicks per second. That's right, they more than tripled the speed. That change alone almost instantly turned turbo building from a cute little setting that a few people used to something as important as, say, aim assist or Builder Pro. Now, even though it may sound like I'm bashing the fact that they upped it so much, I'm really not. That change did certainly have some negative effects on Fortnite, but it also had some very positive effects, so let's get into both of those. We'll start off with the negatives first. One thing that I, along with so many people, really don't like about the turbo building change is how it's changed the building meta, so to speak, in Fortnite. With the insane buff that turbo building received, it's made build fights so much more spam oriented than they were in the past. Building at super speed, which is basically what turbo building allows you to do, makes precision so much less important in build fights. In the past, if you were facing a really good player in a 1v1 build battle, even just one misplaced piece or slow reaction would be punished almost instantly. However, with turbo building, you're literally able to place 20 pieces per second, so any mistake you make can be instantly corrected at what seems like the speed of light. And along the same lines, one of the biggest mistakes you can make in a fight in Fortnite is leaving yourself exposed to your enemy by not protecting yourself with building pieces. However, with the speed of turbo building, now anytime you get shot, you can simply hold down right trigger and literally just shake your right thumbstick in every direction like a crazy person. In the past, if you were to get shot, you would need to actually have the awareness to identify where the shots are coming from and place a few building pieces down to protect yourself. But in my opinion, the number one negative side effect of 20 click per second turbo building is the huge buff that it gave to turtling. Now, when I say turtling, I'm not really referring to the end of game turtling that you see in all of the competitive Fortnite events. Does turbo building help that? Absolutely. But I think even without turbo building, and especially without the major buff to turbo building, that would definitely still happen pretty much all the time. The turtling I'm referring to is the middle of fight turtling that happens all the time in Fortnite nowadays. I'm sure this happens to you guys pretty frequently when you're playing Fortnite now. You get in a fight with someone, you hit them for a few shots and make them really weak, you go to chase after them and finish the kill, and they box themselves up in a 1x1 with a pyramid on top. If you're by yourself and they know how to turbo build, that 1x1 box may as well have a force field around it, because it is going to be so difficult to get inside and finish up that kill. Your only shot really is to try to break and replace a wall, but that's also pretty difficult unless you're really experienced with that tactic. You can thank 20 click per second turbo building for these impenetrable 1x1 boxes. I personally believe that you shouldn't be able to go down to 10 health and then make yourself invincible for a minute straight by simply holding down a trigger, but maybe you guys disagree and think I'm crazy for holding that opinion. I also want to quickly point out in the negative section the fact that turbo building, especially when used on a really high ping, apparently can be very glitchy. Now, if you guys have watched a lot of my videos, you may know I play on an Xbox One X with a pretty reasonable ping, so I really don't run into these issues, but I've seen a lot of threads on a lot of different Fortnite websites that really tell me that if you play on a high ping, turbo building can be almost unbearable to use on a game-to-game basis, so you can definitely include that as another negative of turbo building. Like I said, along with the negatives though, turbo building has also created a lot of positive change in Fortnite. The first is the fact that it has made specific structures such as complicated ramp rushes so much more achievable on console Fortnite. A lot of these multi-level ramp rushes are literally impossible to do on console without turbo building. You just simply can't place the pieces fast enough without being able to hold down the trigger. This is in large part due to the low FPS on console Fortnite and the fact that building is just in general so much harder with a controller compared to a keyboard and mouse. The second major positive impact that turbo building has had on Fortnite is the way that it's served as a hard counter against the spray and pray meta and just SMG spam in general. It's kind of ridiculous to think that just a few weeks ago, SMGs were so ridiculously overpowered that a lot of the time you weren't even able to counter them with 20 click per second turbo building. But now that SMGs have been nerfed back to a somewhat reasonable state, I guess you could call them, turbo building is definitely the best and really the only counter against it. Who knows if turbo building was reverted back to a lower click per second, or if just taken out of the game in general, there would be any legitimate way to counter against SMG spam, and we'd probably go right back to the spray and pray meta that we were in a few weeks ago. These two positives alone are why I want to make it very clear that I am in no way advocating for turbo building to be removed from the game. Turbo building for console specifically is a pretty necessary feature to make building smoother and somewhat similar to PC. Also, if Fortnite wanted to remove turbo building, they would have had to have done it many months ago. If you had a feature on February 25th and then remove it on March 10th, it isn't a huge deal. But if you had a feature on February 25th and then remove it on, say, September 10th, well, then the community is definitely going to go nuts, and not in a positive way. Especially when the feature is as widely used and as important to the game as turbo building is. I think the best solution that most people would agree with would be a slight nerf to the speed of turbo building. 20 clicks per second is plain and simple just way too fast. I'm gonna guess, and it's a pretty safe assumption, that no person playing Fortnite can manually click that many times even with a keyboard and mouse. I think somewhere between the original speed of 6 clicks per second and the new speed of 20 clicks per second would actually be pretty perfect, somewhere in, say, the 12 to 15 range in my opinion. However, like I said, if this were to be implemented, it would have to be added to the game alongside a nerf to SMG building damage. I think this is something that honestly should still be done even if turbo building stays at 20 clicks per second, but it would be an absolute necessity if turbo building speed was lowered even a little. Speaking of overpowered SMGs, as I was researching for this video, I came across a really interesting post that actually theorized that turbo building was the reason the spray and pray meta even existed in the first place. After Fortnite changed turbo building to 20 clicks per second, they likely quickly realized that it made building just a little bit too overpowered. That's when they made a really major mistake. Instead of just taking their L and lowering the speed to a more reasonable range like we're theorizing they should do in this video, they instead introduced buffs to things like C4, rockets, and SMGs as a way to directly counter the new speed of turbo building. And now that I think about it, this theory is honestly probably 100% true, because turbo building was buffed right at the beginning of June, and those super annoying SMG and explodes buffs were pretty much directly after that. So that's going to wrap it up for this video today. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you watched the entire thing, leave me a comment down in the comment section below. I want to truly see what percentage of people use turbo building, so let me know with a quick comment down below whether you do or do not use turbo building in Fortnite. Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.